You guys ever noticed I like tube chassis? What's going on, everyone? Welcome back. Episode 5 of Season 3, Flip That Truck. In this series, we buy, flip trucks, try and make profit, end up with a truck that I just can't live without. Currently, I have 3 trucks here in the studio. This is a new one that you haven't seen yet. It just arrived. And there's one more in transit, one that I traded the green-ish LC70 for. So we will currently have 4 trucks in the stable to work with. This week, my plan is to start stripping the powder coating off of the Bouncer Jeep project so that I can get down to some bare steel to do some of the changes and repairs that I need to on this chassis so that we can get to work on it. This one is still just gonna be a long-term project, but we're gonna use some standard paint stripper and hopefully I can get this chassis down to some material that I can work with. Don't know how much of that process you'll see in this video, but we'll see as time goes on and work gets completed before the video goes public. So we'll see how that goes. But the next one is the $50 tuber. This tube chassis I bought for $50 and I found an $80 gatekeeper kind of slider to pair with it. That's the one that we're gonna get to work on mostly today. I'm gonna try and get this thing kind of setting on some sort of suspension so we can make some decisions. I'd like to keep a trailing arm rear suspension. I just don't know that it'll work with the geometry of this chassis. Not that we don't have the ability to change that, but we'll see once we start working on that. This, you are going to see a bit of the process on in this video for certain. But before we get into that, I'll show you the new one that arrived. This is a custom tube chassis. I can't tell who the maker was. I don't know much about it. It's got kind of a hacked up Jeep body on it with a vinyl wrap that is kind of coming up in places. It's not super sticky on there, but this is the newest. This is a 2.2 as well. One, I don't necessarily do a ton of 2.2s, but this one was kind of fitting. It's got brand new AR60 axles underneath of it. And it is also a trailing arm suspension. Bomber skid plate transmission. No electronics in this thing. This one I've got $600 in, basically, as you see it here. It's a decent amount for this, probably on the higher side. I'm not gonna have a ton of headroom in this one by the time we get some work done to it. The biggest thing is that it's gonna need some panel work because the body panels just need they don't fit very well. They don't look great on here. I think that there's mounting points on this chassis kind of all over. It obviously used to have some side panels that were a little bit more fitted to the chassis and also carried all the way to the rear corner, which that is my goal to recreate. As far as what we'll do for a hood and grille, that is a decision that we'll make once we get closer. And then I'll make a roof panel that will match what we do throughout. So that's the plan there. The chassis, again, it's a steel chassis. It looks like it was likely MIG welded. You can usually tell the joints are a little bit larger and there's been a fair bit of grinding on them to get them smooth. MIG welding is a good fit for full-size tube chassis, but on 1/10 scale stuff, it's not that great. It never looks nearly as good as a brazed or TIG welded chassis. So that's kind of what we're dealing with here. Beyond that, this thing is just gonna get some fit and finish upgrades, things that just, I think someone put this together, got it to a state where it was pretty close, but I'd like to kind of improve that a little bit, get it to a status that I think is a little bit more fitting of the overall condition. One of the messages that I did get recently, or actually a couple of different times, was just about the sale of trucks. Now, I'm usually pretty clear. The trucks go for sale on my website, harleydesigns.com. There's a for sale section. You can go there to see what's for sale. But we did trade one off here recently. The Yeti was actually sold before the last video went up. And I know that people want the opportunity to buy some of these at times. The other thing is when they go on my website, they just are there. The first person that emails and follows through with the transaction gets the truck, and it can go quickly. If you don't see the videos right away, check the website, then maybe you don't get a shot at it. So I think what we are going to try and do is I'll throw at least one or a couple up. We'll throw them just like on eBay, and I'll do a 7-day 0 starting dollars, 0 reserve auction. Throw it up there. Whatever happens, happens. And I'll just be here watching to the end with the rest of you. That way, everyone gets a chance. Everyone can see it. It is what it is. eBay will take a cut, whatever. So that's something I'm going to try out. We'll see how it goes. But in order to do that, I need to have some trucks finished. So I want to get to work on that. I want to see if I can get this truck rolling. I want to be able to see what it's going to look like when it's on its feet. Right now I just have the gatekeeper flipped upside down so I can set the cage on it to kind of see. But I really think that this little truck is going to surprise you guys. I think this thing's going to turn out really good. I'm pretty confident at that even. So let's get to work on it, see what we can accomplish. So this little truck's coming together way faster than I expected. Getting the drivetrain set up in here really went pretty smoothly. You will notice that I did end up going to Yeti or Bomber trailing arms. Now, these trailing arms came in with spare parts with that other tube chassis that I just got. So it made it easy, and it did come from Flip That Truck parts already, so no extra cost. Now, I did go with a VS410 skid plate. The Element one didn't really line up as well, and it's got some extra tabs on it that just weren't needed and wouldn't have been as nice in this chassis. But we also installed one of the transmissions from the very early Flip That trucks. In this one's truck 1 or 2, basically, that came out of there. It's a Vanquish transmission case. It's got Crawler Innovations extended outputs on it, and it's already got 32 pitch gears. The Element axles dropped right in. The wheelbase on this truck right now is 12.75 inches, which is great. The Gatekeeper 12.8. This one's still really close to that. I did take and put some Takeoff Wheels on here. These are the Falcon Wild Peaks from the base camp, which were a good looking tire anyway. And they have those black Rhino wheels. I think it'll be a good set of tires and wheels to throw on this for now. I do have, as you can see, the masking tape panel templates on there, and I did 3D scan this because I want to do a little bit more of a custom hood for this. It's a pretty flat surface, which is going to make it super easy to do a custom hood. I've already scanned it. I'll start doing a design so that I can 3D print the actual buck, and then I'll vacuum form over that to create something that gives this chassis more depth. Right now it's very flat and straight and just, you know, square overall, but with a little bit of hood design on this, I think that it'll actually give it some flair. The Element out of the box is a 3-link with panhard front. I need to make this a 4-link. Right now I haven't done that, so it's got some side-to-side movement. And I need to get an axle-mounted servo bracket, which UC Fab makes, and that's the one that they just posted last week that they're gonna have more of those in stock. So I'm gonna grab one of those, and that will make this a super simple drivetrain to get put together. The rear suspension all works really well. We're able to use those associated shocks. Trailing arms help give us some extra travel. I am going to weld in some tabs so that I can use the Gatekeeper rear sway bar, which I've moved to being mounted at the axle rather than on the trailing arms themselves. But we'll get that on there. Another just reuse of the parts that came in here. And this thing's gonna be pretty sweet. I'm actually really happy with how this is coming together. The sway bar will be an optional thing. I did put a rift interior in here, which I've cut in half so that I could fit in there more easily. I'll have to come up with mounts for that. As I go through and get the finishing done, I'm gonna have to make a battery tray for the front. Should be super simple in this. There's a ton of room underneath the front of this chassis. Then hopefully I can do like a rear 3D printed fuel cell, possibly mount a radiator back there, just kind of get things closed in and filled up and just make it look more finished. I have done some sketching on the actual hood template of kind of the design that I hope to go with. I'm gonna kind of go with a raised cowl that has a separate air filter in there, simulating an air filter that would be on the front of like an Ultra 4 type car. Then I'll also throw in some detail, like you can kind of see back here. I'll do like a side exit or rear exit exhaust port in the panel. These side panels and the roof panel I'll do out of aluminum, give it a nice base. From there I could either do like a nice decal style wrap, or I could do you know, cut some stencils and do actual paint on the body panels. I don't know yet. We'll see. Either way, it's coming along pretty well. And I think that this thing is really going to turn out to be a nice truck. It's all going to be in the finishing details of this, and I think that it's going to come around quickly. Once I get everything the way that I think it should be, I'll of course have to strip it all down. I'll probably do a media blast on the cage and then paint the cage before we do the final assembly. Pretty excited though for this little truck. It's coming. The vision that I saw for it, I think is going to come together more quickly than I initially thought, which that's hard to be mad about. My plan on this truck for the upcoming week is to get it stripped down, get these panels off, get some nice clean panels put on it that fit a little bit better, that aren't quite as beat up as this one, and just do some real basics to it. I don't have huge plans to do a bunch to this truck. I think that it's just a solid enough base that with some decent cleanup, making it look a little bit more polished, it'll be in good shape. And then hopefully by the end of next week's episode, this thing is ready to find another new home. I also expect the 10th vehicle for this season to arrive in the next couple of days as well. So that one you'll get to see in the next episode. Also, we're moving right along this season, trying to just churn trucks, make progress, sell, buy, sell, over and over and over. Depending on when you're watching, always make sure, go check my website, harleydesigns.com, for what is currently listed for sale. And like I mentioned, thinking about doing some of these in an auction format. Let me know what your thoughts are on that. If you'd rather just see them go up on the website, or if you're more interested in seeing like a week-long auction where you can, track it and see if you're interested at that point. Let me know in the comments below. Really digging this series, having a lot of fun, moving some projects along that have been around a while, and some that are just in and out. Good times is had by all. With that though, if you do enjoy these, hit the like button, subscribe if you're not already, hit the notification bell so you see the videos as soon as they get uploaded, and thanks again for watching. We'll see you on the next one.